Ronan O'Gara, good morning to you.
Adrian, morning.
How are you keeping? How's the form?
Good, yeah. Bright morning, sunshine over here, so can't complain. And ready to go, top 14 again tomorrow. So getting good now, getting exciting.
The string of cup finals that you often talk about is going pretty well for you. Another win at the weekend.
Yeah, it was great because we changed the team. 12 players different from the team that started against Saracens. So I think you find out a lot about people during those times when they're not playing and they can potentially get grumpy, but there was no boy sulking. There was good energy out of the guys that weren't talking out for the Saracens game. So we trained well that week, and then those guys got a shot at it against Bayonne. We were average, but it's easy to be average or to understand why we were average, because we lacked probably cohesion and harmony in trying to execute plays, but nothing wrong with their attitude. So it was a beneficial 80 minutes for us.
I think you said in the paper last week that you would watch Exeter if Jess didn't have any plans for you, and you were hoping that she might have, so you might get away from it. That was a pretty big defeat for them. Did you watch it live? Did you get a chance to watch it back, or what was the...
Nah, it was great. It was actually her dad's 80th birthday, so she went home with 4 kids. I stayed with the eldest boy, so we had a magnificent weekend.
Sports Central.
Yeah. No fighting for the control. Yeah. No one who's going to take the dog for a walk. No one who's going to get the bread from the boulangerie. No nagging. Sunday free nagging. Fantastic.
That is the one beautiful thing about living in France. Just the habitual nature of just let's call it the boulangerie for bread. It sounds simple, but you're living the high life, Ronan.
Or even better. And it's good now because it's just, you get that kind of salivating feeling in your mouth at this hour of the morning when you know that the mixed grill is coming back that night. So you have the French bread, you superset that with the sausages and the bacon, the black and white pudding and the eggs from it was Cork Airport this time, actually. Cork Bordeaux's up and running. So normally it's Dublin Airport, but if you can get the full Irish with the French bread, it's a winner.
You're like Richard Cooper and that old ad. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's breakfast time back home. Yeah, probably too young to remember that run. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember that, Adrian?
I do indeed.
That was Richard Cooper before he's...
I didn't know that bit, actually.
Match, yeah.
Now, we've segued sort of nicely away from the question. What did you watch, Exeter?
I did. They had a record defeat, in Leicester, obviously, and then obviously the fallout from Molly Woodburn's dismissal, and obviously Jack Nowell and a few of his teammates had a rant on Twitter and up before the disciplinary, so an eventful week, but it's all ended well, I think, from their point of view. Obviously a bit of financial fine, but common sense was seen, and no top players missing semi-final games.
With a game like that, and because the scoreline gets so far away, is there a point where you just turn it off from a trying to analyse the point of view, or how do you look at it that way?
Yeah, but they were a different team anyway, and Leicester had momentum, and it was one of those games where it'd have no consequences. No, there would be, that tape won't be revisited again. There's plenty of other interesting images that need to be looked at before we tackle them.
I watched a little bit of the highlights of your own game, and I watched a bit of the highlights of the Toulouse match as well during the week, and obviously with an eye to the semi-finals, Toulouse just like they can sort of win any which way you want. Like they go, was it 14 points to nil down after 10 minutes?
Nearly 21 as well.
Nearly 21.
Fair, Leon had a very good opportunity,
and they bring go on, sorry.
That's where they're better than any other team. They like when it gets messy. They like when it gets disorganised. They create scenarios to be able to replicate that in games throughout the week, and that's where they're very, very dangerous. And that's where Dupont is on a different wavelength, in the fact that he played the game last against a 10.
Yeah.
And
how was he in 10 next?
Look easy. His tactical kicking probably is off the top 10, but everything else is good.
That little break for the try, like that, it nearly looked like a 12 in some ways.
Yeah, well, that's his physique would be not dissimilar to a lot of 12. He's a little pocket rocket, and he can carry hard in the 12. He's very fast, he's explosive, he's smart. I think you look at the game and he's like one of those sports people that just stands out no matter what sport it is. If you look at, obviously, tennis is probably a bad example because there's a few of them, but in rugby there's probably John Alomu, Dan Carter, there'll be Dupont. They're the guys that have marked the game in the biggest way.
Could he open up an avenue in terms of the sport going forward for, or is he just a total one-off where players are that bit more versatile in terms of where they can play?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of murmurs about this, but I think he is incredibly good, and I don't think you can kind of model anything on him because he's such a freak. These things have been a hybrid player, Swiss Army knife, and having huge versatility and a great option for the bench. But the thing about Antoine Dupont, if you go through it probably coldly and accurately, there's a reason you could start him at 10, 12, 13, 14, 11 or 15 on his own merit, but he just gets more ball at 9 and has more impact at 9, and he's a petit general and he can run the show at 9, so that's where he plays. And it's like, I have my ball and you have your own ball, but my ball is going to do a lot more damage than your ball.
What sort of character is he actually?
He seems very humble. I don't really know him. I know he's friends with Gerg Aldridge. There was a lot of that generation, Gelange, I think Bougarit, Aldridge, Dupont, the second 9, I think, they're all from the same area in Auch, actually where Paul O'Connell got married, in near Toulouse. They all grew up there and they're played underage rugby together, but I think underage he was good, but I think when he moved from cast, obviously there's nothing to do with moving from cast and the timing with that, but when he probably early 20s, he just became a phenomenon.
Are we any closer to answering the question about what to do with him, Ronan, in terms of from a Leinster point of view, I suppose, particularly?
No, it's just not anyone's. It's anyone who comes up against him. That's bizarrely, when there's structured play, you potentially feel you can keep an eye on him, okay? And then where he becomes nearly unplayable is breaking balls, should we say, using a GA term, when the rugby ball falls on the ground and there's a little bit of chaos, a bounce pass or forward doesn't hold the ball, it dribbles on the ground, it squirts out of a ruck, and you're left with a one-on-one. All of a sudden he's gone up the pitch, bang, off his right foot, fend, gone.
So do you try to play more of a possession game then? Because obviously, I'm just thinking from a frame of reference of when Ireland played France, that wasn't really the case. A lot of kicking in the game. Do you try to ensure that essentially Dupont has as little as the ball of the ball as possible?
That's a simplistic way of looking at it, because he could also maybe touch it 3 times and set up 2 tries or 1. So yeah, possession is important, but then you don't really want to be playing too much in your own half against a team, because of obviously the interpretation around the ruck. If you're in the 3-point zone, it's half a try, and it's a very soft half a try. If you're giving it up, and a kicker like Ramos just pops it over the post. So then if you kick loosey to them, they're deadly. So you're trying to keep as much control of where you give them the ball.
To move on the conversation, I wanted to ask you about the Jack Nienaber stuff. I don't know how much attention you paid to it, but your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was obviously, I wasn't expecting any announcement on Leinster coaches, so it was obviously an element of surprise. And then it's, when you think about it, it seems a very shrewd move, sharp move. coach with a lot of hunger. And, Leinster obviously do their homework and they only go for the best in the world. So I suppose we just have to wait and see how it works out. There's obviously maybe implications in the fact that Andrew Goodman, I don't know where he is. Is he moving on, or is he, because he's incredibly highly spoken of in New Zealand? I coached him in the Crusaders, and brilliant coach. And I'm not too sure has Razor's coaching team been announced, but I would be I'm sure he's in negotiations for being on that ticket.
Geez, that'd be a big loss
for Leinster. Yeah, it would, of course, but then I suppose they've never blocked a guy's ambition. If you're from New Zealand and you want to coach your country, they've always kind of backed the individual to do that, and then he's a young coach, he could easily come again, so maybe Goody wants to stay in Leinster, and he's extremely happy. I'm sure he is. He was there as a player, he's there as a coach, and he's guys the players want to play for him. But the show always goes on. Everyone is replaceable, that's the beauty of sport, but good people are hard to replace.
Some ticket if he stays there. It's the style of rugby that Nienaber has obviously been coached or been involved in coaching, whether it's Munster, South Africa, and then on to Leinster's. Like Leinster, there's a pretty big mix of styles there. Is it just a case that he comes in, you adopt the style of the head coach that's there, or how does that, in terms of him putting his stamp on it, or even from your own experience of working for different coaches with different styles? You often talk about the cattle, and he himself has mentioned about the you assess the quality of players that are at the group that you come into. Pretty good cattle at Leinster, but in terms of the style that he brings into it, what's your thought around how that fits in?
That's exactly the key point, is you assess what you have to work with, and then you make decisions on what's being presented on the training paddock. So he most definitely has the cattle to play whatever he wants. There's different scenarios in your career as a coach that you're faced with certain restrictions or non-restrictions, and you adapt. Otherwise, I think you make an error, and it's very, very important as a coach that you analyse what you have and where you want to get, and can you get to it with this group of players? Because for me, that's what coaching is. You cannot have the same game plan depending on who you have. So to make a simple comparison, and fellas like Winnie Antonio, Will Skelton, Bottia, we play a different game that I'd be playing if I was coaching without those three.
Right. Assess what you have and adapt.
And get the best out of them. Keep doing what they're good at and trying to get more scenarios in a match that they're able to show what they're really good at.
Plenty of questions coming in here if you're on it. I'll put a couple of them to you. So we were talking a little bit at the top of the show about Manchester United and Harry Maguire particularly. I don't know if you've been...
big Man United fan in this house, yeah.
So you were watching it.
Game against Seville last night, wow.
What did you... So the question here, I'll get to Edward Freeman. Ask Rog if he's ever been a coach of a side that just threw in the towel in a game like United last night, and what would your response be?
I just have to be so careful in terms of generalising or throwing in the towel. I think that has so many different definitions for so many people, and I would probably find it hard to agree that a team is thrown in the towel.
Is it a confidence collapse, Ronan?
For me, that's a completely different topic, and I have a perfect example of that, and popped into my head watching that game last night with a certain player that I'm coaching in the same situation like Harry Maguire, and it's completely all confidence, and that is exactly a perfect example of when your mind wants to do it and your body can't do it, and you've been just eaten away, and the simple task becomes so difficult because you're devoid of all your automatic instincts and auto decision-making capacity that I can remember even as a player myself, when a kick in front of the post, it just looked so small. And then there was other moments in your career, thanks to confidence, that the post looks 50 metres apart.
And how do you rate your ability to turn that player around?
It's a great question. Depending on everyone's, I suppose, background and curve and learning curve and capacity to rebound is very different. So have we had this fall as a couple, shall we say, a couple, coach and player, and what did we do the last time to get ourselves out of this hole? Is it a new experience between us and we haven't worked our way out of it? Are the player and coach in unison on what they feel the issue is, or are we at loggerheads? If we're at loggerheads, it will never work, because there has to be an acceptance of the position, and if we're not united on the position, then we can never get where we need to get, and that is where the ruthless side of professional sport comes in. Do I change my system for one player, or can my player get up to speed into this system? It works for 14 others, but I can see a really upside to this guy if he gets it. So the definition of insanity is expecting to do doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So that is always at the forefront of my head when I'm coaching, and the fact where repeated errors or breakdown in visualising, performing the task means that there is not an understanding. If you understand something, you can get better at it. If you put into a position and you don't understand, you're for the next. That's for differently through communication, talking about it, or going through the image, or going through, shall we say, world-class solutions of that image done by different players. So hopefully a combination of the three, you get to where you. But the most important thing is accepting that we're not where we are as a couple, and that we need to hopefully have the tools to deal with better in future.
Does any of this apply to Joey Carbery, or is it something completely different? If Joey Carbery rings you this morning about what should I do in terms of my future, I'm 27, it's not really working out at the moment, what do I do?
Well, I've been on the spot there. I haven't thought about that one. But I haven't monitored his games closely. I'm not too sure what his form in games like and what his little detail is, because I think what he has to really remember is that he's done it, so it's there. He's not looking for a level that he hasn't got to. He needs to get back to that, but how can he get that? And it's probably more simple than you think, and it happened a lot quicker than other people think, but it's his capacity to repeat that consistently. And it's been blighted because of injury. It's been blighted probably because he feels he's not getting as many minutes as he needs. But that's why it's always, I think, reassuring for players who have tasted the top level. You're not asking them to do something they haven't done before, which usually they get on board with you straight away and they go, "Okay, coach, I'm up for this."
Yeah, it feels like Carbery needs wants to get back in the pitch and needs game time, and the more you look at Maguire, it feels like he needs to be almost removed from that, or certainly in the spotlight.
9 out of 10 people in that position, when they're given it, they're trying to do too much because they're trying to make up for lost time in their heads, and they're trying to prove people wrong, while like the Dan Carter policy was do the simple things well over and over again, repeat them at speed, do the simple well over and over again. Then the easy situation where you can glide through will pop up, but if you force it, you look like a bit of a turkey on your backside.
This is the thing as well, like this is just the 3 pages in front of me, 3 papers in front of me, back page Maguire looking full of angst, back page Maguire and De Gea and Maguire, and it's like, was this all Maguire's fault? Like, and that's
yeah, it can't. That's just way too easy. You can't do that.
And that's what they do because he's an easy target and it notionally sells papers. And we've been talking about Maguire, and it's just like, yeah, it's all Maguire, and it's really, really hard for him to wake up this morning, even though it clearly wasn't all his fault.
Oh yeah, it's horrendous. There's no doubt about it. There's always examples of that where a guy gets absolutely lamped. You know, it's horrendous.
Yeah. Good luck against Claremont tomorrow. Thanks a million.
Cheers, lads. Good to chat. Thanks you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Ronan O'Gara on the line there.